Hi, I'm Andrew, and welcome to the Neon Knitter. This is going to be episode 11 of the Neon Knitter podcast. So, today I have a finished object to share with you guys, as well as a whip and a couple of acquisitions. So, I'm going to start with my finished object, which is the big elephant in the room. And this is my painting triangle sweater. I just finished it this morning. And I'm filming this on Friday. I don't know if this video will be released on Friday or Saturday. I haven't decided yet. It all depends upon when I get all the editing done. And speaking of editing, I do apologize. In my Fall Fiber Fair video, I completely forgot to insert photos of the patterns I talked about. So the patterns I talk about in that video are linked in the description of that video. So again, I apologize. I also have a pinned comment in the comments as well with the links to it. Sorry about that. I didn't realize till I was done uploading the video that I didn't do that. So that's on me. So sorry about that. So today I'll try to remember to insert photos of things. Anyways, so yeah, so this is my painting triangle sweater. Just finished it this morning. Very proud of it. I would have had this done a long time ago if the MCal wasn't a thing, but Westnitz MCal kind of made me set this down in the middle of the sleeves. And when we get on to whips, I will explain more about the MCal. So, I'm going to talk about yarns I used, and then I will try to stand up and show you as best as I can. So, the orange is Nurturing Fibers Super Twist DK in the colorway Maple. The burgundy is Madeline Tosh DK in the colorway Coquette Dew. The purple is Madeline Tosh DK, and it's a one-of-a-kind skein, so it doesn't have a name. It's just one of a kind. And the main color, the pale yellow, is Clarindrad Merino DK in the colorway Lemonade. And again, if you didn't catch all that I said, my Ravelry account is linked down below in the description of every single one of my videos, and on the project page for this sweater I have listed the yarns I used, but I seem to have misplaced my yarn labels and can't show you those at the moment, so yeah. Anyways, so I'm sure you want to see the sweater. So now this is the best I can show you because I do sit on the floor while I'm filming these episodes. So that's the best I can show you with me sitting on my knees. However, after I model this, then I will update the thumbnail to this video to have the photo of me modeling it. In the meantime, the thumbnail will probably just be a photo of the sweater. So yeah, then you can see it on me a little better. And then should I end up forgetting to do that, I will also have that photo on my Ravelry project page. But yeah, that's my painting triangle sweater. There is one small thing I didn't do that Steven did that I am a little bit bummed out about, and that is the sleeve cuffs. You might notice that the sleeve cuffs are extremely short. They are an inch. That was not intended. I prefer my sleeve cuffs to be at least 2 inches. Now the pattern says to do 6 inches. Guys, by the time I was done with the decrease pattern and I had enough stitches, I was already here. I only had an inch left to go on my sleeves, and if I would have even done 2 inches, the sleeves would have went all the way to the palm of my hand. So I only did 1-inch sleeve cuffs because otherwise the sleeves would have been too long. So I'm a little bummed out about that, but it is what it is. So, yeah. Anyways, so that is my finished object. Let's move on to whips. I only have one whip to share with you guys. Now, before I get into it, actually, no, I have 2 whips to share with you guys. Give me a second. Alright. So before I get into these whips, I will mention I have not yet started Clue 4 on GeoGradient. So if you'd like to see my progress on GeoGradient, pop back to my Clue 3 video. I don't want to give any spoilers in case you guys are still working on it, because this is not a spoiler video. But I haven't started Clue 4 yet. And part of it has to do with I need to just find the time to pick up all those stitches. Because I feel like once I get the dip stitch sort of established, I will pretty much know what I'm doing. But I have to find the time to sit down and pick those stitches up, because a good chunk of my knitting time is in public. Because I take public transit to get places, and, you know. And so I need to find some time when I'm at home to sit down and pick those stitches up, and yeah. So I decided, because I wanted something simple to work on at Fall Fiber Fair, because I like to walk around and knit while I'm at fiber fairs. Obviously, I did not walk around and knit while I was filming my footage, but when I was done filming my footage, I got my knitting out and was walking around with it. And, so I managed to get out an old whip that I hadn't worked on in a while, and that is my doodler. This is not finished. I have only finished sections 1 and 2, but I was 2 wedges away from finishing section 1. And so I decided, well, what the heck? Let me just start knitting this, or finish section 1 on this. And so my plan was finish section 1 and then set it down again. Well, and then I was going to pick up for Clue 4. Well, that didn't happen. Clearly, I knit the entire section 2, which is this cable on top. Now, if you guys are a Westnitz fanatic like me, you might notice the mistake I made on this. My cable is leaning the opposite direction as Stevens did. I had a total brain fart, and I accidentally, when it said hold your cable needle to the back, I held it to the front. I didn't notice till I was like 4 cables in, and I didn't really want to rip back at that point, because then all the stitches I had knit together with here, I would have to figure out how to put those back on my needles, and it just wasn't worth it. And everyone's opinions that I got all said it was fine, so I didn't bother with ripping my cable out to make it how Steven did it, and it's not going to affect the pattern at all, so my cable's just leaning the opposite direction than everybody else's is. But this is part of my journey in knitting all of the past Westnitz MCALs. The doodler was the 2015 Mystery Knit-Along. So hopefully I will get to section 3 soon. Not until after my GeoGradient's done, though. Then, after I got this done, I needed some other very simple project to work on because I still need to learn how to do dip stitch properly, and I hadn't picked up stitches for Clue 4 yet, so I got out a 2-year-old project that I hadn't worked on in a while, and that is my bubble shawl, also by Stephen West. So, yeah, I'm very happy with how this is turning out. So, this was maybe spring of no, this was fall of 2020. I knit the Snow Flurries hat, which is a Stephen West pattern. And the Snow Flurries hat happens to be my all-time favorite Stephen West pattern. I know, contrary to what you guys might think, my favorite Stephen West pattern happens to be a hat, even though I don't really knit hats that often. But yes, I knit the Snow Flurries hat. I was obsessed with Stephen's black and white sample, to the point where I bought the exact yarn he used, which is Woolfolk Tove in color 0 and color 11. And I tried to duplicate the pom-pom as best as I could, based on the colors he had in his, to the point where I studied the photo to see which ones looked like they were worsted and which ones looked like they were fingering, and I made that happen. And when I didn't have fingering weight of one of the colors, I took a worsted and split the plies in half, because I wanted to duplicate the pom-pom as best as I could, because I was obsessed with Stephen's sample. So, I'm making the bubble shawl to match, and I'm using Woolfolk Tove DK, because they don't have a fingering weight version. And honestly, in my opinion, Tove DK is more of a sport weight. Ravelry even says so. And so I was pleasantly surprised by that. Now, the pattern calls for size 5 needles, and so does the yarn, so I was pretty confident in that. So yeah, I'm going to have a match set when this is done. Again, I've been knitting this shawl for a couple of years now, so I think this year is my year to just power through it and get it done. This is the project I've been working on most avidly in the past week and a half. So, yeah, very excited to get this done and off the needles. But it is distracting me from getting Clue 4 done on GeoGradient, which is not great, because I do not want to get it done 6 months late like I did last year. Okay, so that is it for whips. Let's move on to acquisitions. So, I'm going to preface this with, if you would like to see what I bought at Fall Fiber Fair, please pop back to my Fall Fiber Fair video. I'm not going to bother showing them again since you guys have already seen them. So, if you want to see what I bought, pop back to that video. So, I have 2 acquisitions that are not Fall Fiber Fair related. The first one is something I ordered on eBay. This is a discontinued yarn from Patons. This is Patons Angora Bamboo. The color is called Echinacea. It's this very pretty bluey purpley color, but it's more purple than blue, so I call it purple. It's a worsted weight. It's 55% bamboo, 35% wool, and 10% Angora. And it is only 80 yards. So I actually bought 17 skeins of this because I'm going to be knitting the Brio Garter sweater by Stephen West. So I only have 6 skeins so far because in order to get enough, I actually had to order from 2 different eBay sellers. And the other seller was on vacation until this week, so that package is due to arrive tomorrow. And I debated waiting until tomorrow to film this, but I don't know what all I'm going to have going on tomorrow. And yeah, So I thought maybe I should just get this done tonight, because really I just have to show you one skein for you to understand what this yarn is. So, but yeah, because they're 80 yards, I did get 17 skeins, because the yardage I need, I only need 15 skeins according to the pattern, but the total yardage needed for the pattern, which I don't remember off the top of my head, divided by 80 was exactly 15.00 skeins. So I knew I needed at least 16 skeins, but since these are 50 gram skeins, I decided I should probably get the total amount of a 100 gram skein. So I got 2 extra skeins. Especially because I like to do my sleeves 2 at a time. Then if push comes to shove, I don't have to split a skein in half in order to finish my sleeves. So I think this is going to be better to get 2 extras, so I ordered 17 skeins. Because the one seller was selling a lot of 6. The other seller has 12 skeins, but they're selling them individually, so I bought 11 from them. I'm sorry for that seller who's stuck with one small 80-yard skein of yarn, but that is what it is. Okay, so let's talk about my final acquisition. So I only have 2 acquisitions to share, and this is my final one. So this acquisition deserves a little bit of a backstory first, before I show you. So, okay, so a couple of years, so you guys probably know that whenever I go on vacation, I like to research local yarn stores in the area, and oftentimes I like to browse their websites ahead of time to get an idea of what they stock. I came up with, every now and again I'll find a yarn store that doesn't have an online store, but normally they do, most stores. So, excuse me. So a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, our family took a trip to the Grand Canyon in Arizona, and I went to Sedona Knitwits, which is of course in Sedona, and they stock yarn from a company called Round Mountain Fibers. Now, Round Mountain Fibers is based out of Brattleboro, Vermont, and I was browsing Sedona Knitwits' website at this point. We haven't even left for the trip yet at this point. And I was just like, wow, these yarns are beautiful. I need to just research this company. So I went on Round Mountain Fibers' website, and I was just like, wow, their yarns are stunning. I need to get some when I go to their shop in Sedona. So when I was at Sedona Knitwits, I indeed bought a skein of Round Mountain Fibers to go in a fade shawl. Yeah. Anyways, while I was browsing Round Mountain Fibers' website, there was a colorway I saw that I just fell in love with. I fell head over heels in love with this color, and just knew I had to have it. It was the most beautiful yarn I'd ever seen. 2 years later, is it still the most beautiful yarn I've ever seen? Yes. It still is. I have not found anything, in my opinion, that is more beautiful. Now, before I get into this, I can't find a single LYS that stocks this colorway, and so the only way to get it is dyed to order on Round Mountain's website. Excuse me. Now, if you guys know anything about dyed to order yarns, you might know that a lot of companies that do dyed to order will dye the exact quantity you need, unless it's like mini skeins or something. Then they might not, but otherwise, typically, yarn dyers are willing to dye the quantity you need. So, like, Madeline Tosh, for example, their entire website is, well, not their entire website, but almost their entire website is dyed to order. And they will dye up the exact quantity you need. You need 1 skein, they'll dye you 1. You need 3, they'll dye you 3. You need 12, they'll dye you 12, you know. And, you know, even Hedgehog Fibers does some dyed to order stuff as well. And a lot of Etsy dyers will do dyed to order. They'll do the exact quantity you need. Not Round Mountain Fibers. And this is something I don't really approve of when it comes to their business model. They dye in quantities of 5. And that's it. Now, in quantities of 5, I get it if a yarn shop wants to place a wholesale order so they can stock it in their store. Yeah, quantities of 5 might be worth it. But to the average buyer, who's going to need yarn in quantities of 5? If you need exactly 5 skeins or exactly 10 skeins for your project, great, good for you. 9 times out of 10, that probably isn't going to be the case. And in my case, that is true. So, I had to stop and think, was it really worth it for me to spend the extra money to get more yarn than I needed for my sweater? Because I need, like, and I'll tell you what weight and what pattern I'm doing in a second here. But, I need about 7 skeins of my main color and 3 skeins of my contrast. Well, since it's done in quantities of 5, I ended up having to get 10 skeins of my main color and 5 skeins of my contrast. And that gets to be kind of expensive, you know? And I couldn't find an LYS anywhere that stocked that colorway. And I did find out that I have a local yarn store, Harriet and Alice in Edina, Minnesota, that does stock Round Mountain Fibers. However, they don't stock that color. And, yeah. So, I think in the future, if I ever want to buy Round Mountain Fibers, I'm going to buy it from an LYS that stocks their stuff. And just settle for whatever colors they already have in the store. Because ordering on their website isn't worth it unless you absolutely need a quantity of 5 or a multiple of 5. Like if you need exactly that number of skeins. Or it's like 1 more than you need so that you have an extra skein or whatever. Otherwise, it's just not worth it. Except for this one color. I had to stop and think, was it worth it to get that one color I fell in love with? And in my case, yes, I find it to be worth every penny to get that color I really liked. But if I were to buy any other color from Round Mountain Fibers, I would not spend the money I spent on this sweater's quantity of yarn. And I think that is just ridiculous that they won't sell individual skeins to you. Because I could have saved a little over $100 on my project if that were the case. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to have 5 leftover skeins of yarn that I don't know what to do with. So, but it was too pretty to not buy, so I had to. But never again will I spend this amount on a sweater. I'm not going to tell you what I paid, because you guys are just going to wonder what's wrong with me, but this yarn was so beautiful I had to have it. So a lot of the times what Round Mountain Fiber does is they will do a variegated yarn, and then they will create a coordinating semi-solid to go with it. So that is what I have chosen. I will be knitting the West Knits Go-To Raglan by Stephen West, and there's 2 versions. There's the version where there's 2 fingering weight yarns held together throughout the sweater, and then there's the version done in a worsted weight. I'm obviously doing the version with worsted weight yarn. So for all the ribbing, I have the semi-solid color here. This is Round Mountain Fibers. This is their Willow Worsted. It's 100% superwash merino. And each skein has 185 yards. And the color I have here is Ginger Root. And I have 5 skeins of it. Now, here's the coordinating variegated yarn that goes with it. Ready? Here it is. Same base, same yardage, same everything. The color is called Beehive Ginger. And guys, this is the most beautiful yarn I've ever seen in my entire life. And I discovered it 2 years ago. My only regret is that I didn't place this order sooner because inflation may have occurred. Yeah. So, I might have spent $30 more than I would have had to several months ago. But that's okay. It was worth it. This one time. Never again do I want to spend that amount on a sweater. Again, not telling you what I spent because that's none of your guys' business. But these will go together beautifully for the Westnitz Go-To Raglan. So, and then this I have 10 skeins of, and this I have 5, because this is just for all the ribbing, and this is for the rest of the sweater. But, yeah, I couldn't live without this yarn. I had to have it. It took me 2 years to finally place that order. But I finally placed that order, and, yeah, very happy with my purchase. Again, this is the most expensive sweater I will have ever made, and I don't look to ever spend quite that much on a sweater ever again. But yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. And sorry if I'm rambling on, and if you're still watching, thank you. I appreciate you. But yeah. Anyways, so that was my last acquisition. So I'm gonna get out of here now because my foot's starting to fall asleep from sitting on the floor. So I'm Andrew. Thank you for checking in here at the Neon Knitter, and I will see you in my next video.